I'm Scarlett and this is my presentation on mime. Mime first seems to have been used in organised theatrical presentations in the East, and it has remained an important part of traditional performing art forms in Japan, India and China. In the West, the ancient Greeks are thought to have introduced organised forms of mime through the dances and martial comedy sketches they presented during their theatre festivals. The ancient Romans then adapted the Greek forms of mime and developed them into popular dumb shows that exaggerated and emphasised physical traits and the vulgar and obscene behaviour of the characters. During the Middle Ages, mime evolved into two different forms, and it was used by travelling jesters who entertained and performed improvising mimes, as well as performers who mimed the actions of the mystery, morality and miracle plays that developed in churches. During the 16th century, mime reached its height in the form of commedia dell'arte. Commedia dell'arte originated in the marketplaces of the Italian streets, where street performers began donning masks and exaggerated comical features to draw attention to themselves and to complement their aerobatic skills. Commedia dell'arte began travelling throughout Europe in the 16th and 17th centuries. While not widely practiced in England during this time, commedia dell'arte also seems to have influenced the development of English court masks, jesters and the clowns that began appearing in plays being performed in the English theatres of Shakespeare's era. Eventually, a refined version of the Italian mime was introduced to England in the 18th century, and it became a familiar and adapted form of dramatic entertainment. During the 19th century, melodramas in America, England and France also began introducing mime, and while these forms were more subtle and character-centred, during the 19th century, melodramas in America, England and France also began introducing mime, and while these forms were developing, a French silent mime tradition increasingly emerged that was more subtle and character-centred. After this long period of evolution, mime has established three different styles that have grown out of Eastern, Italian and French performance traditions. Marcel Marceau, born Marcel Mongel in March 1923 in France. He was introduced to music and theatre by his father and decided to become a mime after being entranced by a Charlie Chaplin movie. At the beginning of World War II, when his Jewish family were forced to leave their home, he changed his name to Marceau. Marcel Marceau gave his first big public performance to 3,000 troops after the liberation of Paris in August of 1944. After the war in 1946, he enrolled as a student in Charles Dullin's School of Dramatic Art at the Sarah Bernhardt Theatre in Paris. There his teacher was Etienne Dauchau, whose other apprentice, Jean-Louis Barrault, noticed Marceau's exceptional talent and made him a member of the company and cast him in the pantomime Baptiste in the role of Harlequin. His performance won him such acclaim that he was encouraged to present his mimo-drame called Paxotel and the Golden Fish at the Bernhardt Theatre that same year. His biggest inspirations were Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton and the Marx Brothers. In 1947, Marceau blended the 19th century Harlequin with gestures of Chaplin and Keaton to create his most famous mime character, Bip, a white-faced clown with a tall, battered hat and a red flower, who became his alter ego. He created his own school, Compagnie del Mime Marcel Marceau, in 1949, for the development of mime arts. This was the only company of pantomime in the world at the time. Some of his silent works include The Cage, Walking Against the Wind, The Mask Maker, and In the Park, as well as films Mel Brooks' silent movie and Barbarella. One critic said that he accomplishes in less than 2 minutes what most novelists could not do in volumes. Marcel was married 3 times and had 4 children. He died December 2007, aged 84. Marcel Marchot is a famous name when it comes to mime. He was immensely popular, capable of filling up London's Sadler Wells or Old Vic Theatre. He taught the world many times, performing in over 800 countries. He was particularly popular in the United States, China and Japan. Marcel was a master of theatrical illusion. In seconds he could create an entire scene on an empty stage, transforming his body to suggest an array of vivid characters. Marcel was very well known for the character Bip, who was adapted from the character of Pip in Charles Dickens' Great Expectations. Pip was a figure who existed half in a dream world, half in reality, who can sometimes win, but is most often beaten down, Marcel wrote in The Story of Bip, 1976. Born in the imagination of my childhood, Bip is a romantic and burlesque hero of our time. His look is turned not only towards heaven, but into the hearts of men. Marcel's popular appeal spread first with his tours and then through his film appearances. Many others have been inspired to explore the art because of his success and because of the International School of Mime of Paris he established and the Marcel Foundation he set up to promote mime in the United States. Etienne Duchot was born July 1898 in Paris. His father was a skilled manual worker who educated young Duchot. He took him to musical variety shows, classical music concerts, introduced him to sculpture and read him poetry. Before the age of 25, Dirks had gone through lots of different job experiences such as docks, railway, butcher, dishwasher, plumber, carpenter, painter, though he had mainly worked in construction as a mason. He served 3 years in the army and worked as a hospital nurse during World War I. In 1923, after saving enough money to sustain himself for 1 year, Duchot entered theatre school at the Théâtre de Colombière. At the end of the school year, there was a performance without any words, only miming and sounds. Witnessing this stage performance radically changed Duchot's life. Under the influence of this play, he came to one conclusion. On stage, all actors' movements and gestures should be precisely analysed, studied, completed, and very similar. This is how Duchot got pointed in a certain direction. In 1925, the next 8 years, Duchot commenced work as an actor and continued studying with Charles Dellin at the Théâtre de l'Atelier. The first performance based on his developed dramatic corporal mime technique was given in 1930 and 31, though to begin with his audiences were very small. His first noted article about the theatre was My Definition of Theatre, was published in 1931. The Etienne Duchot's dramatic corporal mime school was opened in 1942. In 1946, he abandoned his career in cinema to devote himself entirely to the art of mime. In 1963, Dirks' book Words on Mime was published. His refined dramatic corporal mime technique has been taught around the globe. He died March 1991. Etienne Duchot is a pretty well-known name in mime. He has had an impact on mime through his book Words on Mime and the Etienne Duchot Dramatic Corporal Mime School. His primary contribution is the art form, repertoire and technique of corporal mime, as it was his focus and obsession. His work on corporal mime also affected the works of many other well-known mime artists. Thank you.